Welcome to Jamie TV, streaming 100% live on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining me. Sam, I see you in the chat. You're just going to hang here until Doug puts on a freak show. Yes, I've seen that. That looks very exciting, but unfortunately, I can't watch Doug this evening. Not live anyway, because straight after this stream, I have a student coming for a lesson, so I will have to catch up on that later. I'm just going to put my iPad in flight mode, which I forgot to do like a stupid hippie. Thanks for being here, Sam. Otherwise, I would be sat here streaming, apparently, all to myself. This evening's stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record something just rough and ready, nice and quick in Cubasis 3, because I probably work quicker in Cubasis 3 when I'm recording real audio. Because it's not really the DAW that's important for this particular stream. It's actually the guitar apps that I'm using. So I'm just going to share what it is that I do with guitar apps to get the sounds that I use frequently. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an audio track for my guitar. And before I even pick up my guitar, I'll go to Insert Effects, and I will add, from Audio Units, I will add New Rack, because New Rack has a tuner in it. And one thing that we are seriously lacking, I pressed the wrong button there, hang on. Let me just repeat what I did there. I'm very rubbish at pressing things and talking at the same time. Okay, so where has that gone? Wait a minute. I think we need to just do that over. Right, I'll press none and we'll do that again. Okay. Yes, one thing that we are seriously lacking on iOS is just standalone tuners. If anyone's aware of any, by the way, that are AUV3 that are any good, then shout up and let me know in the chat or comment below the video. I'd really appreciate it, because the one in New Rack is good, but it's New Rack. It's a big app, you know. It's I mean, I'm really grateful to Paul for adding the tuner to New Rack when I asked him to, but you know, I'm sure there should be just a tiny little, not very much DSP taking up, tiny app that's just a tuner. It would be nice to have. Okay, where's my guitar? Hey up, Paul. Thanks for being here, buddy. Right, so got a guitar. Now I go to... Wait a minute, what am I doing? Where's my guitar track gone? My guitar track's disappeared. Hang on. Did I even do any of that right? Right. Let's do that again. Add audio track. Insert effects. Audio units. New Rack effects. I added it to the drum track. What is that about? Okay, there we are. And if I arm the track, then the tuner works and we can hear the guitar. Okay, we're back on track. Who's here? System Sure and Joe. Thanks for joining us. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, so I've no other apps open at the moment, so clean guitar sound. Before I do anything with the guitar, just have a listen to this. I thought what I'd do is I wanted some drums to play along to keep me in time, and hopefully, and I thought I'd use Slammer, because Slammer's not the first app that you'd immediately think of when you're thinking, you know, drum kit for sort of a blues rock track, which is the kind of thing I'm going to do today. But the drums in it they just sound very, very real, and so I've got this. and I've got it looping round, and I've got kind of a 12-bar-y kind of an arrangement. I think, you know, that'll do for what I'm going to show you today. So I'll come out of there. Like I say, it might not be the most obvious choice for this kind of drum part, but I just really like the sounds that just sound very, very real. So I've got this riff, the start of an idea, and it goes like this. I hope it doesn't go like that. And then I thought I'd go over to A. And back. And then I don't know what I'm going to do after that. So probably play some chords. Let's have a little jam. Something like that kind of an arrangement. But you know, I've had kind of an idea of how the bass part might go. So I think I'm just going to switch over to bass. Right, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to put a bass part down first. Let's just take the blue button off, so I can switch over without making horrible noises. I'm going to use this Fret King Esprit bass. I'm really enjoying this one at the moment. It's so big that there's no way it's going to fit in this picture here. So let's do we'll do a flyby, right? Well, this is going to be awkward. Okay. Awesome headstock. I love this bass. It's awesome. It has a vary control here, which, see this pickup? Right, it looks kind of like a humbucker, but it's split. So down here we have a split coil sounding pickup, and as I wind up the vary coil, it brings in the humbucker. So I can go from a single coil type of sound, like a jazz bass bridge sort of a sound, and as I wind it up, it kind of sounds a bit more like a P bass with just the slightest turn actually. And then the more I go up, the more it sounds like a sort of a thunderous, heavy humbucker. So I should plug it in. Right, now that's plugged into the second side of my interface. So if I go to routing up here and I switch the input from 1 to 2 and put the little blue button back on, there we go. There's some bass. In fact, let me just demonstrate that vary coil like this. So where are we? Okay, so it's wound all the way back, so I've got kind of a jazz bass kind of a sound. Bring it up a little bit, we get a more solid thump. All the way up is a much fatter humbucker kind of a sound. I think I'm going to use it all the way back. Fancy a bright sound today. If I just sit this way a little bit, maybe you'll see my hand. Ooh. It's a big bass. It's a long way over there. I've got an idea. I'm just going to do a very standard kind of a blues thing for the last 4 bars, I think. So let's just check my tuning. we're in tune. Let's see if I can take loop off. And let's see if we can get a part down. Arm record, which I often forget to do. Yeah. Right, I think that was okay and kind of more or less in time, but I did make a little fumble in there. Let's just see what it sounds like. Okay, I'm not gonna do it again because I want to show you sounds. I'm not too worried about the quality of the playing, so I'll just leave that in there. It's not a bad note. It's just sort of a bit of a miss, really. So what I do very, very often when I'm recording stringed instruments is when I record the bass, I just record it clean like that, and I just leave it, and I do the bass sound later, because I find that by far and away the hardest stringed instrument to get a good sound on, to get the correct mix on, is the bass guitar. So I may record the instrument early on in the recording, but actually do the sound for it later on. So I'm just going to leave that as it is, and we'll take arm off there, and we'll get rid of new rack from there, and then I'm going to add another track ready for my guitar. Now bass, as well as being labelled, bass should be purple, and guitar is blue. We'll label that git. Okay, and before I arm it, I'll switch over. Hi Sam, I thought you were here anyway. Did you go somewhere? Okay, let's get which lead is it? Oh, now I'm confused. Not that one. It's this one. It's the expensive one. Okay, and arm that, and I should have some guitar. Okay, now that I've put that down with the bass, I don't think I need the guitar to do that riff as well. I don't think it's necessary for the guitar to do the same part, so I think I've got a wah-wah set up here. I think I'm going to get straight on to showing you this wah-wah, because here's the thing, is something I get asked a lot, something I see getting asked a lot in guitar groups and iOS groups, by musicians who are into using guitar amp emulation type software, that sort of thing, for recording with, is what foot controller do you use for the wah in, say, Guitar Rig, or, you know, in in Bias. Not that I would use Bias, or, whichever one of those guitar rig type of apps, they always have a chain of effects available. And if you buy the wah-wah pedal, to operate it with your foot, you need a foot controller, right? Well, I ain't got one because I found that they're about the same price as buying a wah-wah pedal. And I've got wah pedals, so I did a lot of experimenting using wah pedals in front of software amps. And if you use a good one, like one of the Nembrini amps, then it actually responds just like it would going into a real amp. So why not buy a real wah? They tend to be built like a tank and really hurt if you drop them on your foot, which I've done numerous times. They hurt if you trip over them wearing sandals, which I've done many times. And you can use them live, and they're just a bit cooler than one of those plasticky foot controller things. So I'm going to show you that in a minute anyway. Let's just get, we're going to need a new rack again for the tuner. Because, it's good to be in tune and everything. New rack. So in the chat, I would be very interested if you do know of a you cheated with the Commodore 64 video in between. How dare you, Sam? So if anybody knows of a standalone AUV3 tuner that is worth looking at, then let me know about it. Also, in the chat or in the comments below the video, tell me about what guitar software you use, why you use it, what you think is really, really good, and all, stuff like that. Stuff we can talk about. So, and in particular, I'm interested if there are any guitar apps that you use that I don't use that I ought to be checking out for the channel, because quite a few people have said to me recently that I ought to be doing more stringed instrument stuff for YouTube, and that's probably fair and correct. So anything I've not looked at, let me know and I'll check it out. So tuner, load. There we are. Let's check this tuning real quick. I think it's about right, actually. Yeah. Close enough. Right. Okay. Now, you can't see the wah pedal. It's down here. It's a Vox one. I may show it to you in a bit, but I'm not going to show you right now because it's kind of under my foot, and that would be sort of very inconvenient. So if I just stand on it, which, if anyone has a real wah pedal, you will know that from a seated position, standing on a wah pedal to activate it can be a little awkward. So if I make a funny little maneuver, that's what I'm doing. There we are. But that, of course, is just clean. So we'll switch that back off. And let's set up the rest of the sound. We're going to get my favorite. Well, I don't know about favorite, but the amp I use most often, which is Nembrini's Soundmaster. It's a very, very useful amp because you can get everything from almost totally clean up to pretty damn dirty. It's great for that sort of if you're recording sort of like pop stuff, funk stuff, blues stuff, it's awesome, and it goes through right through to classic rock type tones. And I'll show you what I do with it. Is I go to the rack and I turn down the input quite low, and this makes it easier to get the right balance of clean to dirty kind of tone. So I'm on my bridge pickup, so I'm pushing the amp, and I'm on 10 on my volume, so I'm pushing the amp as hard as this guitar can. And what I want is a sound where when I play lightly, it's pretty clean, and when I dig in, it starts to break up, and that's kind of about there already. And that's why I love this amp. I'll show you quickly. There's a switch here called Fat, and if you press it in, it does exactly what, you know, it sounds like it's going to do. It beefs it up, which is great for that kind of lead work, which we're not doing right now. So I'll switch it off, and I'm not going to go too deep into any of the apps. I just want to show you what apps are used to get the sounds that I do. So I've got a wah, I've got an amp, and now we need some reverb. And the reverb that I've found most useful, that sounds most like a real spring reverb from an old guitar amp, is Spring by Eventide. And I have a preset here in my user presets, and it's the only one I've saved, because whilst all the Eventide apps, I do lots of very experimental, weird, and wonderful things and save quite a few presets. In this app, all I need is this vintage guitar setting, and it sounds really, really close. And if I dig in, you'll hear that quack. And the way that I use it is I have the dampening all the way to this side for the low end, and the high end is the control that I play with the most. So I have the springs turned up all the way for much quack. Quite often I'll bring the mix down a little bit from there, and then I play with the high end, not really when I'm looking for the guitar sound to record with, but the guitar sound when I'm mixing. I find that this control is the one that's going to get me the right amount of reverb sort of shining through in the mix without being too much. Okay, so I'm going to put the wah pedal back on, making a funny little move, and just check the kind of level that's going into my duo. See, the wah pedal's just made it a little hot now. Okay, and let's just loop this round and I'll see if I can get a part together. So what I'm looking for is the right kind of balance between actual chords where you can actually hear me playing the chord and where you can hear me doing the scratching. To get that kind of sounding. Right, so let's just arm record on here, take loop off, see if we can get something okay sounding. Right, let's just hear that back. Okay, right. It's a little bit scrappy, but it does the job. And at the end of the day, we're not here today to for me to record the greatest piece of music ever recorded. It's about the sounds. It's about the apps. So I'm going to show you what I would normally do with that. But first, I think if I just solo this track, I think you'll agree. It could do with evening out a little bit. And when I need to even out this kind of chippy choppy, as I call it, a chippy choppy kind of a rhythm, what I normally do to achieve that is I will go to my audio units and I will open up what's it called? What's it called? The Calum Audio app. It's right. Okay, so the other version of the same compressor is called Smooth Slap. There we are. Honestly, it's my age. What did I do there? What did I do? This is the problem with touchscreen interfaces. I've just duplicated that track somehow. So let's just get rid of that. There. Okay. Right, now slap, I want after the wah and before the amp. Because that's the way I would use it in my FX Chain Live. So we've got the signal peaking after the wah, it's all over the place. We want to crush it down before it hits the amp. I found that putting it after the amp, it tends to be really, really noisy. And I don't mean with slap, I mean just with any kind of compressor. So I pressed the wrong button. Let's go to slap and put loop on. And let's just see if we can find a setting in here that works for this. Right, I'm not going to dwell on that for too long because we've got a lot to look at during this stream. So you can see in the beautiful display in this app how it's, and you can hear quite clearly, I think, how it's evening out the signal. Right, okay, now I want another guitar part. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to pan it all the way to the right. Oh, no, I'm not. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do to save on processing power is I'm going to just freeze that one. And I've now got my mic into my desk and then out to the air extreme without it going through Cubasis. So when I freeze stuff, or if it crashes, or if we have a little nightmare, I can still talk and just sort of try and talk some bollocks to keep you entertained whilst it actually freezes. Okay, so what I was going to say is I'm now going to pan this all the way to the right, and let's just play with the level. All right, now let's record a different guitar part. In fact, let's change guitar, I think. Or shall I? Shall I bother? I think I'll keep this one. I'm enjoying this one. I'm going to keep this one. So we'll add another audio track now. So now that this track here is frozen, then even though we had like 4 apps open on that track, it's now my CPU is at 1%, my DSP is at 0. Actually, CPU keeps having a bit of a dance about, but you know, it's not high, and that's what matters. So let's just color this track in blue because guitars are blue, and we'll call this Git 2. Now, I could spend all day showing you Numbrini apps, but what I want to do is, oh, actually, have I still got this wah-wah pedal on? I have, haven't I? I'll just do my funny little move. That should be off now. Yeah, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you tone stack, because I just accidentally pressed something, didn't I? I keep doing that today. Okay, I don't think I've lost anything. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to show you tone stack because I do use tone stack rather a lot, and it is very, very good. I don't think that the amps in there are quite as good as Numbrini amps, but then, you know, when you look at it, when you look at that massive suite of effects and amps and everything that you get for your money for tone stack, then, you know, the Numbrini amps, they ought to be better, didn't they? Because, you know, because they just should. But they are very, very good. And if I can just find it, we really need like a little search window in Cubasis. Okay. Now let's just close these pedals off that are already open. I don't seem to be very good at this necessary little swipe to get rid of them. I'm pretty sure it's me. I don't think it's the app. Okay, so we've got a clean page. I fancy a bit of a tremolo sound on this. So I'm going to go to modulations and open up this tremolo. Which is wonderful. You just balance the rate against the depth. You can sync it to the speed of your track. Right, now if I take the depth down, a little too much there. We get a nice subtle one, but I never tend to go for subtle effects. Another great sounding tremolo for guitar is on the DC30 app. Hi Robert, you say you have a lot of trouble with... Oh, and hi Mars, thank you for being here. You say you have a lot of trouble with Cubasis. You can't record, it gets out of sync. That doesn't happen to me at all. But now I'm here to help, and I really like helping people figure out problems with Cubasis. I've done a great deal of that. But and that advice from Samuel is probably correct. If you haven't already done that, do that. And if that doesn't work for you, then you can contact me anytime. Email me, message me on social media, whatever way you want to use to contact me, and I will help you. But right now, we're talking guitars. So we've got a tremolo. Now let's just add an amplifier into the mix here. So we'll go to amps, and I'm going to choose this Blues Owl, I think. This is a nice amp again for that kind of dirty clean, I think we call it. And then we'll keep it nice and simple. We'll just add a reverb to that. And the reverb I fancy using is I'm going to use this spring forward. And in a way, I'm going to kind of use it to show you how good Eventide spring is. This one doesn't sound as really. It does sound good, and you can get the sound with a bit of a tweak around. You can get the sound out of it, but take the. Oh, that's the button. Over to there. Take the tone down. Now, what do we like for level on that? Let's just have a bit of a look at that on the desk. I think we should be okay. Okay, now I was thinking what I could do. I want to go back to tone stack and just turn this volume back up a little on here. Turn the amp down a bit too much. I was thinking I could either just do a nice chord with that tremolo because it just sounds gorgeous as it is and it'd be easy, or I might do a little funky thing. Tremolo might be a little bit wasted on that. Let's just see. I'm not sure if that fits with the funky wah part. I don't think it clashes terribly, but let's just... I think we'll just do this one. Forgot to take loop off. I do that several hundred times a day. Okay, I think that sounded alright. What do we think? Tell me if it sounds okay. Let's have a look at my chat. Oh, thank you, Vortex. That's really, really sweet of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, I'm glad that you made it. Hi, fam. Thanks for being here. Okay, yes, Robert. Just listen to Sam, honestly. Believe me. Shut up, guitar. Listen to Sam, believe me, honestly. He's right. I bet that sorts it for you. Okay. Where am I for time? Oh, I'm not doing too bad today. I'm kind of running a little behind, but not desperately behind like usual. So I think that sounded okay. Let me just kind of have a bit of a... Alright, yeah, I kind of like that. I was kind of tempted by the slightly more complex, jangly part, but let's go with that. I like it. So what I'll do is I will freeze it. I'm not saying I've got the perfect guitar sound there, but you know, it just shows off some of the things that I use. And obviously, if I was here recording in my own time, I'd spend a lot more time tweaking and pissy panting about. Let's freeze it. So Tone Stack for me, it's fantastic value for money. I mean, if I was coming to iOS now as a guitar player, as a player of things with strings, if I was coming to iOS now, and knowing everything that I know now, I would buy for guitar. I would buy Tone Stack Pro, and I would get the majority of the Nambrini stuff, and that's where I would start. But oh yeah, and what you were saying, Sam, about the tuner in Tone Stack Pro, yeah, it is. It's brilliant. I don't like to open it in a chain of effects in Cubase's 3 because it's not like making a chain of effects in AUM. I have to be more careful because I can't open as many AUV3s. But that's partly now because my iPad is so old. But I'll be getting a new one. I'm not sure when, but I'll be getting one. So now that I have that, let's pan that one this way. Okay, now I want to do another guitar sound to show you what I might do for a lead sound, but before I do that, I need to show you what I'm going to do with the bass. So let me just put this guitar down. Okay, so if you weren't here earlier, I recorded the bass, but I left it just clean. I didn't open any AUV3s on it. Because bass is the hardest thing to get a great sound for, in my opinion. So I'm going to do that now that I know what other instruments I'm balancing it against. And so I'm going to go to Insert Effects, go to Audio Units, and there really are only two professional sounding standalone AV3 bass amps, maybe three actually, because the deluxe bass amp, whilst it is I think free, either free or incredibly cheap, somebody check that for me and put it in the chat. Paul will know, I think. Yeah, we'll call it three because that one is really, really very, very good to say that it's like for nothing. And that's what we have to choose from. There's Mammoth, which is incredible. It's superb. You have very, very dirty sounds. You can get good clean sounds out of it though, although the advertising would lead you to believe that it's just for like dirty through to extreme. And then of course there's Nambrini's Black Ice Beta Gamma, which is what I'm going to use now because it's the easiest one to use to get sort of clean through to sort of slightly aggressive tones that really bite through. And I've made loads of presets for this, which I keep meaning to ask Nambrini if they'd like to use them. There's a preset that comes with the app that's a really, really good start to getting a great tone. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just solo the bass. We'll solo the bass. And that's not the bass, that's the bass. Solo the bass and then open up the app and close that out for a minute and don't press record, you stupid hippie. Big Cab. Big Cab is a fantastic preset. I find that in loads and loads of the things that I record, I can press in that preset and it takes me a long way towards the kind of sound that I want. And now a lot of the time when people hear bass guitar soloed, the sound might not be exactly what they expect, and it might be a little bit nasty, a bit gritty, But what we do is we mix it so that it stands out in the track, so that it does what it needs to do in the track, so it has enough low end, but it's not killing everything with that low end, so that it punches, so that you can hear every note. But the bass guitar, it eats frequencies, and it's very, very important to get it right. And very often, once you've got that perfect sound for the track, when you solo the bass on its own, it doesn't necessarily sound that fabulous. Alright, now there's so much more I could show you for getting, rhythm guitar sounds and other apps that I use frequently. Bass sounds I could just talk about endlessly, but I only have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to very quickly add one more track and make this a lead track. And I'm just going to quickly open the kind of the apps that I might use for a lead guitar sound for this kind of track, which is sort of a, kind of a rocky blues kind of a tone. And of course, it depends greatly on what kind of guitar I'm going to use. So I'm going to pick up my Strat for this one, and so what I've learned is that the clon works really, really well in front of the Soundmaster app. So I've opened it up, but I'm going to switch it off for now. We'll start with the Soundmaster, with just the sound of that. And now if I'm honest, I use Spring on the vast majority of lead guitar sounds. But just to show you something different, I'm going to show you this one. And let's just get a tone. Let's get a guitar first. Right, okay, so getting a lead sound. Lunar Lander's off at the moment. You see, that is already somewhere where I would like to be for a lead guitar sound. For this kind of track, it's kind of, it's got some bite when I really dig in. It responds nicely to the pickup. So if I go down to the bridge pickup, if I come up to the neck pickup, we've got sweeter and rounder. So that's a long way towards what I want. If I go to fat, yeah, I'm liking that. I think maybe on my quack position. Okay. Now, if you're wanting to clean up the sound on Soundmaster, like I pointed out earlier, the easiest way to do it is just to come in here and bring down the input. Magic note there. Right, and if I just show you quickly what it sounds like if you put this in front. Now, if you're wanting to dirty up the front end with this, the magic thing about the clon is the way that it colours up the front end of the amp. It sort of saturates it in a really warm and interesting kind of a way. Output's a bit high there. Right, okay, and then let's go to Lunar Lander, and I would go into Lunar Lander, take off the delays for now, and get rid of all this modulation that's in the delay, and the Bucket Brigade control, I turn it all the way up. I take the noise down, because guitars are noisy anyway, and I like the Class A/B setting here, and then I would choose a plate size for the reverb. Maybe bring the wet and dry down a little tiny bit. That's kind of nice. And then I would probably bring the wet and dry back up on the delays, but turn them really low. That's something like I would start with for a lead sound. Now I've put all those apps on this track. It's kind of loud, so let's just kind of find a level. Alright, so that was a really magic note there, wasn't it? Just to prove that we're live. Alright, so thanks very, very much for watching this. I'm going to endeavour to do more in the way of stuff for things with strings on iOS. I think that's kind of probably the correct way forward for me. Let me just have a look at the chat before I say goodbye. Thank you very much, Vortex. Thank you, Joe. Really, really appreciate all of you being here. Thanks for joining me. And like I said, Robert, if you need any help whatsoever with Cubasis or anything else iOS, there's a lot of us here that can help you. But I'm more than happy to, if you want to message me, and I'll see what I can do. Okay. So thank you all very, very much for joining me. I'm afraid I can't join you watching Doug's stream this evening because I have a lesson in a minute, so I'll be watching it after the fact. So enjoy Doug's stream and behave yourselves, be good people, make lots of music, and don't piss your pants about. See you later. Bye-bye.